Warning, this may contain content not suitable for children. And snowflakes, you have been warned. Hello and welcome to Sporky News Podcast, me lords, me ladies. I am Scott and I'm still in a hotel room, but that's okay. So I was just perusing through the interweb and I noticed a little article. Game of Thrones showrunners finally explained the Lady Stoneheart omission. Yeah, guys, they're still talking. When will Dan and Dave just shut it? But anyways, it does say that they also tease what their role will be in Wind's Winter. I doubt they freaking know, but if they do, I kind of want to have it down on record that they said it. So let's jump into it. If you like what you see here, please like, share, subscribe. Helps out the channel. Thanks. All right. So once again, this is from a site called Polygon, and the writer is, or artist, author, guy who writes it, columnist. I don't know. It is Austen Goslin, Austen with an E. Good for you, buddy. All right. And it says, Game of Thrones showrunners finally explained the Lady Stoneheart omission. They even tease her role in George R.R. Martin's future books. So if you don't know the Lady Stoneheart role, let's just put it this way. This is Catelyn Tully. Catelyn Stark. She is Lady of Winterfell. She is Lord Eddard Stark's wife, and she gets murdered at the Red Wedding, where she dies of vengeance, anger, loving her kids, blah, blah, blah. Well, in the show, they left her out. In the books, they strip her naked after she's dead, leave her out for 3 days, and then finally, as a disrespect to the Tully tradition of a raft being floated down the river and then shot with a flaming arrow, they threw her naked into the river, where Nymeria, actually Arya, who is warging Nymeria all the way from Braavos, which is freaking amazing in a wolf dream, smells a familiar smell and paddles out into the turning water. And she finds this body and pulls it to shore and tries to tell it to get up, and then all of a sudden she smells men and she runs off. Well, Beric Dondarrion and Thoros Amir find her, the band of brothers, the Brothers Without Banners. I always forget. Brotherhood Without Banners. Sorry, I just got home from work. They find her. Beric begs Thoros to give her life. He says it's been too long, so Beric gives her the kiss of life and actually breathes the fire of R'hllor into her, waking her up as Lady Stoneheart. Is it Catelyn? Is it a little bit of Catelyn? Is it somebody completely else? We don't know yet. But she does seem to have a mission, and her mission is debated between the fandom. Some believe she's there just to get revenge on the Red Wedding to Freys and Lannisters alike. Some others, like myself, feel like she has something to do with Robb's will, following a path of where the will has been, or people going to find the will have been. So that's something we want to keep our eyes on. But Catelyn might have been the person they actually, Robb put down as his heir in the will, because of the way the ending of that chapter reads, how he tricked her by talking about Jon Snow, and really it was about her. We don't know for fact But Lady Stoneheart does have Robb's Iron Crown, so I can't see Lady Stoneheart wanting to crown Jon Snow. So in a way, I think it was a trick to get her to agree for her to be the heir by saying he would make Jon the heir. Anyways, we can always go over that at a later date. But let's read this quick article. There are plenty of changes between HBO's Game of Thrones series and George R.R. Martin's original Song of Ice and Fire books, at least the one that have been released so far. But even with all the changes, Lady Stoneheart garnered so much fan attention and was talked up so relentlessly by book readers that even the most casual Game of Thrones watcher had questions about whether or not she would appear. Since the Revenant never actually made an appearance in the series, fans have always had a few outstanding questions about why she was cut. Thankfully, showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss have finally provided some answers because they realized that they freaking should have kept making that show, and everyone knows they're hacks. Sorry, I have feelings about these guys. The showrunners' Lady Stoneheart info comes from the upcoming book, Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon, James Hibbert's behind-the-scene look at the making of HBO's Game of Thrones series, which had an excerpt published in Entertainment Weekly. I did not know this. As a bit of brief background for those who aren't in the loop, Lady Stoneheart is the resurrection of Catelyn Stark. I just pretty much told you all that, so we'll jump ahead. Her wounds, blah, 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 phrase, brotherhood without banners. According to Benioff and Weiss, the first reason they skipped out Lady Stoneheart was thanks to a plot detail from one of Martin's upcoming books. Unfortunately, the pair only offered this tease, but avoided actually discussing the events in question to avoid spoilers for Martin's books. Of course, we can always make our own inferences, and based on where Lady Stoneheart is in the books, it's certainly possible that this has something to do with Brienne. The second reason was a little more straightforward and practical. Benioff and Weiss knew that Jon Snow's resurrection was on the horizon, so they opted to minimize the number of characters who came back from the dead. They figured if too many characters came back from, it would dampen the shock when Jon came back in season 6 after dying in season 5. That is the dumbest answer I've ever heard. If they did it correctly, because they didn't want to use magic for some reason, Lady Stoneheart was brought back by R'hllor. We don't know, in the books at least, how Jon's going to be brought back. But yes, Jon was brought back by, I guess, R'hllor. But they could have done the idea of, like, you know, Jon jumping into Ghost and then coming back and being one of the only ones that still was themselves somewhat. Or it would have showed us what happens. Like, look at Beric Dondarrion. He was losing himself after every time he died and came back. He was a little less himself. Lady Stoneheart was something completely different. She was dead for days and came back and was just this vengeful, like almost wraith, you know, living wraith. So I think that's dumb. They didn't make anyone else a warg in the Stark line except for Bran, who's actually a green seer, because they wanted to not take away from Bran. But if you made them all wargs and showed that ability, but then showed Bran was even more powerful than that, it would have brought something more to it. Just like if you had Lady Stoneheart, Beric, Dany being what I believe is a fire white. If they all came back and then Jon came back something different and more powerful, that would have been very interesting. But anywho, I guess they just didn't feel it. The final reason the showrunning duo had for not including Lady Stoneheart was simply that Catelyn Stark's death was just too good the first time around. For Game of Thrones as a series, the Red Wedding might be its most iconic, important moment, and Benioff and Weiss felt it could lessen the wedding's emotional impact if one of the characters returned, no matter how badly scarred. Another related issue for the pair was that they felt the Lady Stoneheart role would have been a waste of Michelle Farley. Are you kidding me? Catelyn last moment was so fantastic, and Michelle is such a great actress. To bring her back as a zombie who doesn't speak felt like diminishing the returns. Benioff, of course, said. First of all, to see her act without speaking but conveying what Lady Stoneheart is feeling and that pure anger and that pure rage would have been amazing to see. And I don't know what the hell these guys are talking about. That's just a cop-out on my role. The actress is that good of an actress where she could have done that. While none of these answers are too surprising, it's nice to finally have some explanation of why the fan favorite character never made it to the screen. On top of that, it is difficult not to feel like characters like Lady Stoneheart or Young Griff. I could do a video on that. I have done live streams about Young Griff. You could check that out. Could have been integral parts of the show's last few seasons had they been included. In fact, Martin himself has said that Lady Stoneheart is an important part of the series' 6th book, The Winds of Winter, at least with Benioff and Weiss tantalizingly hinting that part of the reason she wasn't including being a plot point in Martin's unreleased book. Fans can rest assured that Lady Stoneheart is once again returning to the series. I think it's a cop-out. I think Young Griff, Lady Stoneheart, the true Dornish story, these guys left it out because they could never write those rules. And because it's ahead of the book, can you imagine them trying to write Lady Stoneheart? You know, they say they understood she was going to be in the next books, but can you imagine them trying to explain her story? I just think they knew their limitations and decided to let George tell that story. So I'd like to know what you think. Comment in the comment section below. And again, subscribe if you like. It'll help out the channel. And I would love to see you guys come back. But for now, stick a spork in it. I'm done. I know I'm corny.